Alrighty, guys. Performance and wellness in the house. We're here at Destination Dallas, hanging out, talking to my buddy Ali. What the intention was, we were intending to go live. A little disappointed, but to all that's interested in watching this film, watching our show, look for us on performance and wellness. It'll be notated in the lower quadrant of the site, so you can see what's going on. So, welcome my guest, Ali.
Hello, hey, how's it going, everyone? I'm glad to be on the show.
I'm really excited to have you, man. It's a pleasure to have you here, so you can share your journey in what you love and your passion, what you love doing, which is weightlifting.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. So just let y'all know a little history. Not really a lot of history here. My friend of mine, Forsaken Warrior, introduced to you maybe like a year or so ago.
Yeah, that's how we met.
Yeah, and because I was helping Steve with some issues, and Steve's like, "Hey, I got a guy for you to check out." And then I shook your hand, I talked to you for a little bit. We kind of had a conversed a little bit about what problems you were having a problem with. And I'm like, man, when you told me your issues, I'm like, what, man?
And that's a lot of stuff, huh?
Oh yeah, a lot of stuff. But I don't think you went in full details, but we kind of talked about just a little something, and we went on, and that was it. And now we get like a year later.
Yeah, that's exactly a year later. Yeah.
A year later, we're back at it again. We're back at it. We're conversating again, and we're talking about things that you're passionate about. So I'll let you have it.
Yeah, well, everyone, thank you for the introduction. My name is Ali, and I am a weightlifter. It is also called Olympic weightlifting. So the sport that I participate in has two movements in the competition. One is the snatch and one is the clean and jerk. And weightlifting is written as one word. So it's not weightlifting, it's weightlifting.
Weightlifting, so it's a combo. It's a combo.
Yeah. It's a compound word. And it is the only barbell sport in the Olympics.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, there's powerlifting, squat, bench, deadlift. They're not part of the Olympics. There's strongman. They're not part of the Olympics.
You know what? Why you're right.
Yeah.
Because you don't see any deadlifts during the Olympics. You don't see any bench pressing and anything like that. You see
Olympic weightlifting.
Yeah, Olympic weightlifting. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I learned something new.
Yeah, so they do have bench press, but for the Paralympics. So people who are paralyzed, they compete on bench press.
Wow, I didn't know that either. I learned something new.
Yeah.
Because I noticed I see people get ready for deadlifting meets and bench pressing and stuff like that, but that's something.
Yeah, you never see it in the Olympics, yeah.
You don't see it. Is it? So why is that?
Okay, so that is a good question. Now, weightlifting, so the sports in the Olympics are complete sports.
Okay.
So what do we mean by complete sport? We mean a sport where speed matters,
Yeah.
strength matters,
Yeah.
accuracy matters,
Yeah,
and
that's it.
skill matters.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to compare it to maybe the shot put throw, right? The shot put throw is a complete sport.
Yeah,
because the athlete has to be strong, he has to be fast, and he
Yeah.
has to have good technique.
Yep.
Now, powerlifting, for example, it lacks some of the aspects. Okay.
You know what? I can follow you on this.
Yeah.
Keep going. I can follow you.
So in powerlifting, you have to be really strong. You
Yeah.
have to have good technique,
Yeah.
but you can be strong enough to overcome your technique issues, right?
Okay.
And so that's one of the criteria you have to be Olympic sport. So
Okay.
for example, running, right? It's
Yeah.
just not the fact that you're fast. Is you have to be super athletic,
Yeah.
right? You have to know how to run, so there's a lot of technique involved.
Okay.
Right? And you have to be fast. Right?
Yeah, so that it makes it a complete sport.
Yeah,
because you have components that you have to be a part of to actually be called something like this.
Yeah, to be part of the Olympics. So weightlifting, the reason why we are a complete sport is for those three exact reasons. In weightlifting, although we only have two movements, snatch, clean and jerk, those three lifts have all the components of a complete sport. So you have to be extremely strong.
Yeah.
You have to be extremely fast, right? To do a snatch and a clean and jerk, there's a lot of speed involved, and you have to be accurate. So you have to have a lot of technique.
And I've watched you lift before on your videos and here. I'm like, and it's like the weight is actually moving. It's like gravity takes over once you the technique. Tell you what, guys, if you ever see somebody do a clean and jerk, the technique is flawless. It's like you get up under the weight, so it's like the weight is up for you. Before you know it, it's like you're under it, and then you had to go up. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So there's so most barbell sports, the athlete stays in contact with the ground at all times, and the athlete controls the weight with their body at all times. in weightlifting, when you, for example, in a snatch or a clean, you lift the bar up, and there is a moment where your feet are not on the ground and the bar is levitating. Okay, so and that the heavier the bar gets, it creates additional dynamics that powerlifting doesn't have, right? So you can't grind through a lift.
Yeah.
Right,
and that's good then.
Yeah, and that's what makes it a full, complete sport.
Okay.
So yeah, and there's a moment where you're not touching the ground and the weight is hovering. So if the weight is off by this much, there is no saving it.
Wow. Now, like I said, guys, I've seen it before. Now, it's not like seeing a clean and jerk.
Yeah.
And on video, and watch it, and you watch it real time in slow motion, and you watch how his feet comes off the ground, and the bar is actually.
Yeah, so the moment the moment my feet come off the ground is the moment the bar is moving the fastest.
Yeah,
actually.
and you got to catch it. And like I said, with him, watch him do his lift. It's like a hair of error.
Yeah, the margin of error.
The margin of error is very slim, because if you miss it, and you miss the whole, you miss the whole movement, because it throws your balance up. It's like a counterbalance.
Right.
And your body, your core, everything has to be engaged with the movement before you can move forward with this.
Yeah, correct. So now actually in these lifts, the strength part comes in the pull.
The where?
In the pull.
Okay.
So you're pulling it from the floor to your hip, and then once the bar flies up and your feet come off the ground, that's where the technique and the details start to show. So you can't muscle that.
No,
you're not gonna muscle that.
No,
it's either you did the pull correctly and you have your technique right, or you're just gonna miss it.
I guess so. Technique is very important with this whole process.
Yeah, and you know, and this is one of those sports where everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. So if you were to compare that to powerlifting, you see the guys that are deadlift specialists, the guys that are bench specialists.
Yeah, I've seen those too. Yeah.
So in weightlifting, those advantages are combined into one movement. So you can have someone who's good at deadlift, and you can have someone that's, let's say, good at squat. Okay. Now, an Olympic lift is essentially a deadlift and a squat combined into one, right? So everyone has an advantage and everyone has the same disadvantage.
So would you say that with those deadlifting, powerlifting, and bench pressing, they're one-sided, one-dimensional movements? So with what you're doing, clean and jerk, it's a full dimensional movement, because you're working legs, back, and then chest. Because your chest, you have to move, contract your body to actually move the weight.
So that's also another reason why it's an Olympic sport, and why maybe powerlifting has a hard time being an Olympic sport.
Yeah.
In weightlifting, you are using the full range of motion of all of your joints.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, in one lift.
Yeah.
So if you look at a deadlift, like, does your ankle move?
No.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Does your shoulder move? Barely at all.
Barely at all. Yeah.
Right. Or you look at a squat, right? If you squat, and do your shoulders really move? No. So in a snatch, you start off in a deadlift position, and then when you, for example, the hip goes to the full range of motion. So does the knee, and so does the shoulder, right? So you have to be strong here when you start the lift, and you have to be strong here when you finish the lift. So
the complete movement. Yeah.
Yeah. And every joint is pushed through the full range of motion with heavy weight. That's the key.
Well,
that's the key.
Well, and that's a good thing, because it keeps you from, it reduces your chance of actual injuries.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing one dimensional, for example, you're doing a bench press, like with your shoulder going out because your scapula and your back is not developed, or you have weak body parts, upper part, guess what? Less than that chance. If you're deadlifting, your hamstrings may be off, your ankle may be off, and that decreases your chance for pulling your vertebrae or straining your back or your coccyx area.
Yeah.
So you have lesser chances of having these injuries. And also you got bench press, squat. For what you're doing, it's you using total component to actually move the weight. It's like a team effort. A physical team effort that you're looking at doing.
That's correct. Now, here is the interesting thing that you said. If you have the right mobility and the right technique and the right programming, weightlifting will keep you healthy because of what you mentioned. It takes your joints through all the range of motion, right? Now, on the contrary, if you have the slightest problem, right? Yeah. And I've had a few myself. If you have the slightest problem, those will show right away, and there's no way on getting around it.
So it's like bodybuilding. Guys go on stage, they lift hard in the gym, they bust their butts to get to the gym. They have all these weak points in their structure in their bodies, which throws out their mechanical. Yeah. In the workout, and also propose, kind of posing and showing their physique off, it kind of excludes them from being first place in a sense.
Yeah, and another example I can show is, let's say you have a hip problem.
Okay.
You can have a hip problem and still push through some squats and get some big squat numbers, right?
Oh, really?
Well, if you, let's say you don't go below
parallel,
right?
Okay.
Yeah, let's say I'm a bodybuilder and I have a hip pain. I can still squat heavy, but I'm not gonna go through that range of motion. Now in weightlifting, if you got a hip problem, you gotta take that joint through its full range of motion. It will show right away. It will put you on your butt, right?
Okay.
Or let's say a wrist problem, right? Like if I want to bench, I can wrap my wrist, right? And I can crank some workouts. I can maybe get away with shoulder impingement for a few weeks, but in weightlifting, you'll get exposed completely.
Okay.
Like I said, it's like cutting down and getting on stage, and everyone can see what
all your flaws are. Yeah. So question now. Get back to that. Now I've seen you clean and jerk 300 pounds, 315. What was that? It was what, 3 plates?
So the 3 red plates, that's 170 kilos. That's about 375, 380 pounds.
Okay, now so walk me back, take me back now. What made now? I know why I got into bodybuilding and working out and fitness. What was your reason to get into this?
Yeah, that's a good question, and the answer goes way far back.
Okay.
So, I when I moved to the U.S., I was 14 years old.
Where you from?
Oh, I'm from Iran. So I was born in Iran, and when I was 6 years old, we moved to Germany.
Okay.
And I grew up in Germany as a kid, and age 14, we moved to the U.S.
Okay.
And when we moved to the U.S., now I've always liked alternative sports, right? Like if you think about the mainstream sports, you got like soccer, baseball, rugby, basketball, right? This is the sports that everyone's enjoyed. I've always was into like, let's say rugby, judo, right?
Those extreme sports.
Yeah, weightlifting, right? I enjoyed skateboarding. I just was more drawn to the alternative side. So when we moved to Mississippi, I actually wanted to do wrestling, you know? Small niche sports. That's just what I'm good at for some reason.
That's a strong sport. My brother used to wrestle.
Yeah, it's tough stuff.
Yeah,
so I would have loved to be a wrestler, but because of Title IX, right? And they passed that law in 2006.
What's it called?
Title IX. Title IX. Federal government said for every boy sport you need to have a girl sport.
Okay.
Right. And the school I went to, they couldn't get enough girls to do girls wrestling.
Oh.
So the boys wrestling team was annihilated. So now I had a choice, right? But that's well, I'll get more into that.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of guys who get disadvantages in life, sports-wise. So now I had a choice: either not participate in these sports, and Mississippi it's not like Dallas where you had all kinds of.
I know Mississippi.
So your options are limited.
Yeah.
So I just decided to be a soccer player.
Okay.
I was a die-hard soccer player, and I actually played it for over 10 years. 4 years in high school, 4 years in college, and then I did semi-pro for like 2 years. And so to become a better soccer player, I decided to pick up the weights. Once high school finished, it came to the point where you have to perform like a full sport. We say you have to be strong, fast, and good technique.
Yeah, you have to speed.
And I was lacking speed and I was lacking strength, and the best way to gain that is to go into the gym. So that's originally when I started weightlifting.
Okay. And so that was like you 16? Was it 14 or 16?
I was like 16 or
16, okay. That's back when I started working out back when I was 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I got bullied.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I got bullied. I got pushed around. When my brothers walked home from school, there was these kids in the neighborhood. We stayed in the hood. And, kids know when you got a lot going on.
Yeah.
Because they have personal problems in the house. They take their problems out of other people. So what I had to do is, I got jumped on a couple of times. So I'm like, this ain't happening again. So I went to the gym and started working out. That's my reason for doing what I'm doing.
So funny thing is, the reason why I kind of started sport is the same thing. I didn't go into it, but when I lived in Germany, I was an immigrant kid, and we lived in an immigration camp for most of the time there. So, when you family moves at such a young age, and instead of like moving and starting a job in life, you get put in immigration camp. That affects your mind. That affects your self-esteem, right? And there's a lot of anxiety that goes with that because as a kid, you trust that your parents are competent and they can take care of you. So when you go into a different country and your parents can't even speak the language, right?
That's a problem.
Right? So you if it's not talked about with the parents, you put that responsibility on yourself.
Yeah.
Because kids learn the language easy. So from a very young age, at 6 years old, I was helping with my parents translating the news, translating like legal documents.
You from German?
Yeah. I went to school there for 10 years. Yeah.
Oh, you're fluent in, huh?
Yeah, I'm fluent in German. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. I could do this podcast in German. Maybe next time. So that anxiety accumulated and it showed itself. So I also used to get bullied as a kid, right?
Yeah.
Because when you know your parents can't keep you safe, that shows in a kid.
Yeah.
And the other kids, like you said, pick up on that. They're like,
Oh, yeah.
we can mess with him. He's scared. There's a reason why he's scared.
Yeah, but you know what? And also it comes from the kids that's bullying you have personal problems of their own.
Yeah.
The mom and daddy got issues. They're not there. They're not home. And so they got to let their rage out on other people that are having to do with them.
Yeah.
And that's the problem I had as a kid.
I've never met a kid who had a normal family life that was bullying.
Yeah, no, they were bullied, yeah.
So as a kid, I started boxing and judo.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I did to defend myself.
Yeah.
And actually towards the end, I was kind of, getting more confident so people stopped bullying me, but that's right when we moved to the US.
Oh, really?
Now mind you, the race is long.
Yeah.
Right? Now any of these guys that bullied me, right? They wish they could be 1/10 of what I am now, right?
It always happens that way.
Because they stayed in the same place.
Yeah.
They stayed in the same
success
hood.
in life.
Yeah, they had nothing
done
going
anything.
on. Right, and then you look at me, and I got a full-time job.
Yeah.
I moved to Texas.
Yeah.
I'm making money.
Yeah.
And guess what? I'm a national
Doing
level
really well.
lifter, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
those guys are shrimps compared to me
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
It's sad for them, right?
Mhm.
But I think that's the best way to get back at your bullies is to live a wholesome, successful life.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? That's the hardest pain that they could feel right now.
And my situation, most of mine are dead. Most of me, like I said,
shit.
I come from the hood, so Flint,
Yeah.
Michigan. That was like normal. And when I started working out, I got bigger and stronger. And there was a kid in school named Hercules. Short. I mean, this dude was stocking. No one touched him in school. We were like junior high school. No one touched him because he had to make an example for a kid in school. And after that, I seen that like this dude was like Superman. So I started doing what he was doing. I asked him, I said, "Dude, what's up, man?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Man, I'm just nice and big, nice and strong." I started working out and never had any issues after that because back then kids were using their hands and fists, no guns.
Yeah.
Technically, but
right.
the kids weren't using them. So that encouraged me to get into the gym and working out, and it also helped me stay out of trouble because I was in the streets. Doing living my best life, doing what I was doing. My mother wasn't taking care of me. You know what I'm saying? I'm figuring things out on my own as a young kid. So weight training was like important to me. It's like a life or death situation. It kept me out of jail. It kept me out of extreme situations. So that's why I got into weightlifting because it was something. It's like I needed it. It's like something that was a part of me, and I couldn't get to where I am now without having weightlifting fitness in my life because it was a way to let out steam and stress.
Yeah, it becomes part. And believe it or not, those are the people who have the most success in the gym.
Yeah.
Is the people who almost need to be there.
Yeah.
Right? They need to be there. Now, I had attention problems, so I always had to play a sport in order to do my homework. If I wasn't tired, it didn't make sense to do my homework. I was just too sporadic. So that's why I decided to do college sport, high school sports.
Okay.
Now, I finished my eligibility in college with soccer, and I started doing the hammer throw.
What's a hammer throw?
Hammer throw. Okay, so hammer throw is...
I'm ignorant, guys.
Yeah, it's an Olympic sport, right?
Oh, hammer throw?
Yeah. So you've seen discus,
Yeah.
shot put, and a hammer throw. So the hammer throw is a shot put that's attached to a metal wire that's 1 meter long, right? And you have the handle. And then
I seen that.
Yeah.
They had it in high school. My friend might did it.
Yeah.
He did a shot put, but he did the hammer throw too.
Yes.
The thing is, why you okay?
Yeah. So you do the hammer throw, and that's an Olympic sport because it's a complete sport.
Yeah,
you got to be fast,
Yep.
strong, and you have to have good technique.
Yeah,
right?
technique. Mm-hmm.
So when I started doing the hammer throw, part of the lift that correlates with the hammer throw the most is the snatch.
Okay.
Right. So if you can snatch heavy weight, you can throw the hammer the furthest.
Okay.
So that's about like 2004. So that's when I started seriously trying to get my snatch and clean and jerk numbers up.
Okay.
I wasn't not a weightlifter. I was a hammer thrower. But that's when I was like, hey, I need to do this more seriously to be a better hammer thrower. And what do you know? Turns out I had a good aptitude for it. I had a good talent for it. And one of the biggest reasons is I'm not scared to jump under the weight.
I would have a problem with that. I'm like, what the?
Yeah,
especially with having 315 coming down. Oh no.
More. Yeah, I'm trying to do 4 plates.
Four plates? Oh, no.
I'm trying to do 4 plates by the end of the year. So you guys remember that. Just hold me to it. So and that's actually when once I graduated college, I'm not an athlete anymore. So the sport that was the most reasonable to do, because now you don't have a team. Right?
Yeah.
Is weightlifting. Yeah. Because there's gyms around. Like you can't be a hammer thrower. You can't be a track athlete unless you have access to a track.
You can't be a hammer thrower either.
You're not going to be a soccer player.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you have a whole team and a whole coach in the field. Right?
Yeah.
So the most logical sport that lends itself to doing outside of school and college was weightlifting.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's you and you alone that's actually performing the lifts and everything.
So you hit on a good point. You and you alone. And I'm going to go into that, why I'm a better weightlifter than I was a soccer player. And the reason why I want to share this is because you people, either for yourself or for your children, need to understand this. Okay. When you want to become a better soccer player, better football player, basketball player, you are reliant on your team and your coach.
Yeah.
Okay.
You play a part. What's going on?
So, and that is a good thing and a bad thing, like everything in life. So if you socially don't fit in with your teammates, right?
That's problem.
You're an outcast. Now I've never fit in socially, with, because I'm a guy who was born in Iran from Germany, and now I live in Gulfport, Mississippi, and I'm playing soccer with the suburban kids. Right?
That's a big culture difference.
So you see, and it's not that they dislike me or that they're racist or anything like that, but I was just so different, So you vibe with some people, you don't vibe with others. So I was just so different. So, and you want to be a successful athlete in a team, you need to be friends with your teammates.
Yeah.
Right? You guys need to be brothers. It's a brotherhood.
Yeah.
And the coach, right? The coach's opinion of your performance is a huge factor, because the coach decides if you're going to play or not, right?
Yeah.
So let's say in soccer they have like different styles. Let's say they have the Brazilian style, right? And you have the English style. And the coach is like, our team, we're going to play the English style, because most of our athletes are English style athletes. And then you are the Brazilian style guy.
Oh,
right?
so, okay, I got you. I see what's going on.
And so no matter how good you are, if you just don't fit in, you're killing the plan, right? And the team is the most important thing. You're killing the plan. So either you adjust, right? And if it's a natural aptitude thing, it's hard to adjust, or you just sit the bench, which is what I did most of the time.
That sucks.
Now, contrary, powerlifting, weightlifting, track, hammer throw, discus throw, it doesn't matter if your team likes you. It doesn't matter if your coach wants to play you. It's you and the object, and you get a fair chance to show yourself. Now, on a team, you want to get better at like passing the ball in soccer. You need to have 2 or 3 guys to train with you. At the same time,
to go back and
right?
forth.
Yeah, right, because that's how the game is played. If you want to be a better powerlifter or better weightlifter, it's you and the barbell. It's your schedule. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you have a crew. It doesn't matter if the rest of the weightlifters vibe with you or not. So that is the reason why I am better at individual sports.
Because you're self-driven, self-sufficient, and you know how to drive yourself, and there's no judgment. Only judgment you have is against yourself then.
Exactly. So basically what it boils down to, because I'm a naturally hard worker, and I worked my ass off in soccer. I would go before school and like pass the ball against the wall, right? I used to improve my touch with the ball, and I used to learn all kinds of tricks, right? But I never translated to success on the field.
Right? It's because you didn't have the opportunity to.
Because I didn't have the opportunity to, and I needed the teammates to practice playing soccer.
I got you. Okay,
right?
I got you. Yeah.
So and it was like calling someone, so hey, you want to play? You want to play? Getting groups together.
Nah, not time. I don't feel like it.
Yeah, and if you're a hard worker, a sport like weightlifting, powerlifting, individual sports, you can become really, really good at it, and other people don't matter as much. I'm not saying they don't matter, right? They just don't matter as much. Like your weightlifting coaches.
It's not. I get what you're saying. What you're saying. When I understand what you're saying, it's just that when team sports, you depend on everybody coming through. We work together as a team. We get the job done, and we're working for the common goal is camaraderie, winning. Yeah, exactly. And then unifying each other and success. Yeah. But with weightlifting, like you're saying, and the same thing about it, it's a you situation. You are your biggest.
Yeah, you're your biggest teammate. You're your biggest enemy.
Cheerleader, everything.
Right.
Teammate, enemy, whatever. Because if you fail in the weight room, you're gonna blame yourself. You're gonna be hard on yourself. Why I didn't get this? I trained hard for this. I know I can do this. I've done it many times before. What's going on now? So you have to judge the situation based off of your understanding of what you can and cannot do. Yeah. And then, but sometimes you come to the realization that you cannot do it, but you're not at the point yet. But you still push forward and do it anyway, and that's where the injuries come in at.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why it's necessary to have a coach.
Yeah, that's why you have to have an outside. Yeah, because no matter what you do, at a certain point, you're gonna need outside help. Yeah. That's just fact. You have to accept it. You're not Albert Einstein who's gonna figure the formula out by himself. You're not Isaac Newton who's gonna come up with like a whole calculus on his own, right?
Because you need a coach to ask you Because even though you know the movements, you know how to bench press, squat, whatever, deadlift, or clean and jerk, or overhead lift, whatever. Because you know how to do it, doesn't mean you are an actual expert in a sense. Because you're not watching yourself.
Yeah.
And seeing how you compensating your movement.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah. Now watching yourself is huge, because if you are squatting, for example, you can squat in front of a mirror and like auto adjust, right?
But you're distracted.
Yeah, exactly. So you're not going to get that. Now in weightlifting, it's even harder. You don't even see the bar, right? It's over before you know it. And if you have like a compensation somewhere, you'll never find it unless you have an outside person watching.
Yeah, watching and everything. So, and I think we talked about this off camera, so guys. So we talked about how you got in the sport, how you got there, and you weightlifting now. Because I watched you lift a lot of weight and how magically it moves, technique wise, and it goes up miraculously. And with you have a coach, and you have a coach that's worked with you for a while. But what obstacles that you've dealt with along the way when your journey of this Olympic lift? What your goals?
Yeah. So most of my as we talked before, if your movement and your technique is good, weightlifting will keep you healthy.
Okay.
If you have problems
In the beginning?
Yeah, from before you start, they will show. So you got to address them. Now, I myself had a handful of issues, which is really why my journey is special and why I'm proud of it. It's not that I've become the strongest guy, but I've become healthy.
Overcome a lot of things.
I've overcome a lot of things just to be a little bit above average, and that's important to me. So I had 2 knee surgeries, one in 2012, one in 2014. This was from playing soccer on my left knee. And
on left knee, 2 knee surgeries on left knee.
Yeah, 2 knee surgeries, and they were meniscus.
Okay.
Right. And my right ankle was completely stiff from playing soccer. And the reason why it's stiff is because my left leg is 3/4 of an inch longer than my right leg.
Wow.
So my compensation, instead of being at the hip only, was also at the ankle. So I would get on my toes on my right side, so my hips would be more even.
Wow.
And what happened is the bone spur started growing, so all the joints became calcified, and my ankle I couldn't dorsiflex, right? So that held me back a lot. And
But watching you live, I watched this guy live, you couldn't tell that.
It's not obvious right away.
No, it's not.
But
because you're good.
Now, by the time you started watching me live, it's night and day from like when I first started.
When you started when you lift?
So I started in 2019, December 2019, right?
19.
That's when I graduated college and I joined Destination Dallas to become a weightlifter. And so to add on top of that, I had a concussion in 2019. I guess it classifies as traumatic brain injury because it took over a year and a half to recover from. And that was something I had to deal with in weightlifting, right? Because sometimes you can't push yourself because your concussion is holding you back, right?
Okay.
You're not going to mess with your brain any more than you have to. And so yeah, these imbalances and all these problems led to like severe hip pain and back pain, and it led me to be a one-sided athlete, right?
Okay.
Because soccer and hammer throw, they're one-sided sports. You can get away with it having one side stronger than the other. But Olympic weightlifting, because 2 feet are at the ground at the same time, any kind of imbalance will expose itself. And you would know because you saw you saw the way I was lifting. You were like, man, you got like a glute activation problem here. This is not moving. When you watch me walk, there was a dorsiflexion problem, and all of these are like X-ray verified, right?
Yeah.
And I had a surgery actually on my right ankle in 2019.
Wow.
To improve the dorsiflexion, but now they removed all the bone spurs, but my foot was still stuck in that position, that the arch of my foot was so tight that I couldn't dorsiflex because the arch was keeping my foot.
So it's like the muscle had atrophied. Because the muscles on the bottom of your heel spread out into your digits, your feet. And they spread out. So the muscles there, the tendons, the ligaments, sometimes they can atrophy based off of lack of movement.
Yeah, that's what happened, and they were just stuck.
Wow.
They were just stuck. And for 2 years I tried to stretch my calf. Because that's all you think about. Oh, you want to get dorsiflexion, stretch your calf. No. And I was barking at the wrong tree. No. When I actually started focusing on the foot.
To the foot.
That's when that's when all the bone spurs were actually able to move out the way,
Yeah.
all the calcification, and my foot was actually able to move out the way so I can bring my knee forward and dorsiflex.
Yeah, because with that situation, you would have to do like a TENS, or you do some grafting on those specific areas. They gotta break up those fibers, and break up that tissue, get oxygen there, get blood there, and then do a lot of manipulation on the toes and everything to kind of get the muscles jump started a little bit.
So you see, you know about that because.
But you didn't know about that kind of stuff.
Well, in addition, the people who did my surgery, the people who did my rehab.
Oh man, they're not gonna tell you no stuff like that, man.
Because you're an expert in movement, right? You're an expert in watching the human move and fixing it.
Yeah.
And most healthcare professionals are expert in surgery, right?
Cutting
you up, giving you medicine, and then they just get you walking, and then you go out the door.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's the same. A lot of physical therapists too. I noticed that I have a lot of clients that are I have a lot of clients that are physical therapists. And I have clients that work with a physical therapist. The bad thing about physical therapy is don't hate me on this. I mean, I'm getting some kickback from this. You solve the issue. So, for example, if it's a knee, you work the knee only.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not the reason why the knee went out. The reason why the hip went out. It could be a lot of different things. It could be the glutes, the hips, psoas, iliacus muscle. It could be the foot. The foot has a big part in the hip. The knees went out, or the hips went out. So, if you focus on where the problem came from, then you're missing the whole objection. And what you're doing is setting them up for failure. Because that's what it's saying. You're going to come back, you're going to have another surgery, and you have another problem. And that's a moneymaker. But you're not really dealing with the actual issue.
Exactly.
Yeah, because you deal with the issues, guess what? The knee, the hips are already taken care of.
Yeah, and
because it's supported. By working muscles, they need to support the movement. You get where I'm coming from?
Yeah, no, exactly.
And you missed that point. And that's a big thing when it comes to injuries. And athletes do not do, I call it the dark side work. The dark side work is not the eating, not the sleeping, it's the therapy. You go to the gym, you tear your muscles down. You tear the tissue up, and you just beat your crap out of yourself. Guess what? How do you...
Now you gotta recover somehow.
How do you recover? I'm eating good, I'm taking this, I'm doing this. But how are you actually, it's like mechanic, how are you taking care of your car?
Yeah. So now, what you talked about, like the knee example, right? You go to a PT, there's pain in the knee.
Yeah.
You address the knee.
Yeah, that's the knee.
Weightlifting is notorious for the lack of cause and effect analysis.
Okay.
Right? Like we said, weightlifting, you go through the whole range of motion.
Yeah.
Your body has to move as a system. So if you have knee pain as a weightlifter, and a lot of them do, right? You gotta address the whole system. You gotta address the foot, the hip, right? Your technique, right? Is your programming maybe too hard for you? So that root cause analysis, if you don't do it as a weightlifter, you will not have success in the long term.
And the lift and everything.
And which is a reason why I was drawn to you when you started to offer your help to me.
Okay.
Because I've been there and done that. I've had the knee pain, went and solved the knee pain. I've had the back pain and went and treated the back pain, right? I have been looking for years for someone who was gonna analyze my movement and go down to the root cause, right?
Okay.
And
that makes sense.
And I was willing to pay good money for it, because I've had this back pain, hip pain, SI pain that I've had for about 7 years now. When I was a hammer thrower, right? And that's what led me into the journey. And I realized one of my legs is longer than the other, and I thought maybe that's it.
How you find it out?
So when you do a clean, when you do a power clean, what would happen is my right heel would come off the ground before my left one.
Oh, so you didn't go to the doctor, you went to sport, and you noticed this was happening?
Well, remember we said weightlifting will make you, so the Ursula Papandrea, she is the president of International Weightlifting Federation. She has a quote that she gives in her seminar. She says, weightlifting will make you a better person. Right? And the reason why it does is, like we said, it exposes all your problems. So if you want to add 5 pounds to your clean, you need to address all the issues, and you always go to what's your limiting factor. So when I was doing the cleans, one of my foot was coming off the ground before the other, right? And we had to dig into that. Is it a technique flaw? Is it a tight muscle? Is it like a nervous twitch, right? And so we couldn't find anything, and then we were like, okay, maybe one leg is longer than the other, right? And which could explain like why you have this hip issue.
That's an interesting analogy, because I don't think no corporate would come up with that.
Yeah.
At first, when come up with that, hey, one leg longer than the other. What by chance?
And you know, that's the chances of that are very, very slim, right? Like most people who have a leg length difference is because their hip is off balance, right? And like I said, I've been there, done that, and this was all for the pursuit of being the most competitive athlete you can be. So you start to nitpick, right, at the small details. And one of the small details was, hold on a second, is one leg actually longer than the other, or is it just a regular problem, or my imagination? So we went and got an X-ray, and 3/4 of an inch is huge.
It is huge.
Yeah.
Because normally I have clients one leg like it'd be like this much off, and what I do a joint compression, suction, and then kind of grab and just function it. Because it's something that's stuck in the fascia.
Yeah, you mobilize it.
Yeah. And it pops out, boom, and we're good to go. And you go back and forth. But your situation, you can't do that.
Well, you know, I went and saw saw PTs, right? They do the hip thing, and it just doesn't help, right? It just doesn't help. It doesn't help in performance, and you know, it's almost like a crazy idea. Is one leg really longer than the other? The chances of that is 0, right? And I finally was like, I went to the doctor and I said, I have hip pain, right? And the X-ray guy comes in, he's like, okay, we're ready to take a picture of your hip. I was like, no, I think I'm here because one of my legs is longer than the other, right? Because they were going to take a picture of the hip, right?
And limit.
And then, okay, can we do a surgery on the hip? That's the moneymaker, like you said, right? And I was like, no. I thought you were a hip expert. If one leg is longer than the other,
you need to adjust the whole situation.
Yeah, you need to adjust, and they didn't. So I was like, I'm not taking an X-ray of my hip. I said, if I want you to take X-rays of my legs and see if they're the same length. So the nurse practitioner was like, okay. She went and got the PT person. The PT person put my knees next to each other and saw there's one longer than the other. So she's like, okay, maybe it's the functional one. Maybe it's the fascia. So she starts adjusting me, right? And then she's like, okay, you're even now. And I was like, check again, right? And she checked again, and she was like, okay, maybe you're not even, right? So I had to fight for it, because you know they have a process. They have to go through.
I know.
So then, and they were getting upset at this point, right?
I would be, if I was you, I would be upset. I'm like, you told me, I'm telling you what's going on, but you telling me that I'm a liar. It's my body.
So you know, well, this is what I've noticed. People in the medical industry have huge egos, right? Especially doctors and them.
Yeah.
Like any other industry, like a mechanic. If the car is messed up, you bring it back. Yeah. Right. Fixed. And if you know what you're doing, it is obvious. We can measure it, right? If a doctor, a PT, if you don't know what you're doing, it's like, oh,
they blame you.
Train something else. Maybe you didn't do the workout right. Yeah. So, anyways, I forced him to take the X-ray, and what do you know? 3/4 of an inch difference. Right?
Man, I'll tell you, I would be like, oh, what you say again? I would ask, what you say again? I would have called him out on that. That's disrespectful.
Well,
but remember, you work for me. If I'm a medical professional, I'm a doctor, whatever, PT, I'm coming to see you. I'm paying you my money. I'm paying you to see me. So if I say this is a problem, please oblige me.
Yeah.
Oblige me. Let me know. Okay, let's entertain this man. He's paying for it.
Yeah.
Give him everything.
Paying a lot of money for it too.
Yeah.
Right.
And let me know what's going on. Guess what happens? Did the first time. Guess what happened? You would have been in a better situation, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. And so now, if you do the sport of weightlifting, and if you're in sports, and if you've been injured as much as I have, and you have no other choice but to learn and understand human movement, because that's what you do. To improve your performance, you almost need to know like a lot of the stuff the PTs know.
Yeah,
right?
you have to know that.
Like, you have to know a lot about dieting. You need to know a lot about programming. You have to know a lot about the human body. And so when a young guy goes to the doctor and he tells him, no, you're wrong, it's not this, it's that. Like, you even have a medical degree, right? That's kind of the attitude they have, right? Degree. But I tell them, like, I know you have one, but this is my body. You know, like I've had this pain in the ass.
I have my body for this many years.
Please just entertain the idea, right? And what do you know? They offered surgery. Hey, we'll go in, we'll cut your leg, and we'll shorten it 3/4 of an inch. And I was like, look, I'm a competitive athlete.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And to this day, I lift with a additional heel. So if you look at my weightlifting shoes, they're customized, right? Okay. One of them is a tad bit longer than the other. Now I know in powerlifting you can't add
lift on your shoe.
Yeah, there's a limit on how high you can go, but in weightlifting there isn't one because it's a disadvantage.
Okay.
it's like, because you're doing a pull off the floor, it's like a deadlift. So if your heel is taller, it makes a deadlift, it makes a deadlift harder.
Yeah.
Right? Of course, it makes the squat easier, but if your pull isn't good, you're not even going to get to the squat to begin with.
And so people understand, injury is detrimental to your body. When you injure yourself, you have fascia that sits in place that actually holds your whole body together. So what he has to do over so many years, his body has to compensate through the movement. So if something's not firing, it's like a roadmap. You take a different direction to get to somewhere you need to go to, and that's what he had to do for a long period of time. And that's not a good thing, because you're channeling energy towards places that don't need that much energy, and also it wears out that particular area, which causes further injuries, and it causes like a domino effect of constant problems, which like glutes not firing, calves not lengthening, ankles not dorsiflexing doing the movements. Shoulders, neck is not, there's a ton of things that can go wrong when you have injuries. And a lot of people just brush off injuries. They push through injuries. They don't take the proper rest. They don't take the proper supplements. They're going to help your body recover from an actual injury. And those injuries are very important. They can be life-threatening. They can be to the point where your hobby could cost you money. And that's not a good thing, especially if you not get paid for it.
Yeah. And so the hobby costing you money, right? So it was really expensive.
Yeah, I can see that.
To find the root cause of pain. Now, the biggest price sometimes that you pay is that your sport becomes, it reduces the quality of your life.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that.
When you are a diehard athlete, it is part of your identity.
Yeah.
Right? Like when people think about me as a person, like it's Ali the weightlifter.
Yeah.
Right? It's part of your personality. It's like the hairstyle you wear, it's like the clothes you wear, it's your brand.
Yeah.
So when and believe it or not, it's a big part of your life.
Yeah, identity, mental health, and everything.
Yeah. And so sometimes when you have chronic pain, the biggest price you pay is in lack of sleep, in lack of comfort, and it starts affecting you mentally, right?
Yeah.
And then the thing that used to bring you joy brings you agony, and it starts affecting like your relationship with your wife, right?
Oh yeah.
How you treat your kids, and if you're not aware of that, right, and if you get too frustrated by that, it can lead you down a very wrong path, right? So when you are dealing with injuries, you have to always self-reflect, right, and ask yourself, is this injury just a sports injury that I'm having?
Yeah.
Or is this affecting my life negatively and I'm not even aware of it?
Yeah, and funny you say that too. So you guys understand, mental health plays a big part in weightlifting, period. Regardless, because I said, I weightlift, I'm bigger than one normal. Who walks around want to change your body type, change the way you look, change your look of your sculpture, your body DNA. People, you got to be crazy going here to want to do that. People don't necessarily.
Yeah, it takes a special drive.
Yeah, it takes special drive, but also too, you got to have a different mindset to want to do this to your body, because you're changing everything. You're basically putting on shoulders, quads, pecs, legs.
Yeah.
Or you're increasing your mass of your body mass, so you're changing things up. So with that said, your mental health mentally has a big part, plays a big part in actual weightlifting. Your ego. You're married, you're dealing with your wife, your spouse, the support you get with the lifts. You do miss the lift that day, you go home, you're frustrated, you don't want to be bothered. It's a lot of stuff. And also on top of that, you have injuries on top of that, and that's huge. That's a huge burden to deal with on a regular basis.
So, and you're right about the mental aspect, and let me tell you the mental aspect of weightlifting.
Yeah.
And how I have dealt with it, and some of the challenges that I've had. So with this chronic hip pain that I used to have, it reduced my performance, so it frustrated me. It reduced my quality of sleep. When your quality of sleep goes down, your whole life becomes a mess. Right? You need sleep as a human. And what would happen to me is I would be upset at my wife for no reason. I have 2 dogs, and my patient was very low. It's like, I don't want to deal with you, or he comes up to you and you just smack him, just to get out of it. And it was affecting my professional career as well. I do technical work as a job, and it requires a lot of mental focus. Yeah. So when you're sitting with let's say hip pain, right? That hip pain is like, hey,
tapping at you.
Hey,
you're like, hold on, quit! I'm trying to do this.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And you can't focus on your your performance drops. and then when it comes time to get a raise or a bonus,
Yeah.
guess what? You're not in line.
No,
right?
you're not lying because your performance went down.
Yeah, and I can see people like losing their jobs over this.
Mhm.
I've heard of people going, weightlifters going through divorces, right, over this because you're
Yeah.
so competitive, right?
Yeah.
But like you said, you need to be, like what we said, you need to be able to like step back
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
analyze and see how it is affecting you mentally, right?
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be a good thing, right? If you control it and let it be.
But you know what? And like I said, I go back to this again. That's where coaching comes in. When you have a coach is somebody that's supposed to, I'm saying, mentor you. Your coach is going to mentor you. They're going to help you walk through what issues you're having, introduce proper technique, help you follow through with those techniques, kind of ground you, bring you back to where you need to be to move forward. And then that way it takes off a lot of the pressure, because if you're trying to do it yourself, you there's an issue. You're going to have issues.
Yeah, sometimes you don't see it.
That's where the coach comes in at. The coach kind of helps you, like, okay, you're doing really good. I see your technique is okay, but let's step back and go back to the basics again.
Yeah, and by the way, weightlifting, a lot of people want to do it online, right? Online weightlifting is a thing, right?
Hold on.
Yeah,
Online weightlifting is a thing?
online weightlifting, right? So, and it doesn't make sense to you, maybe it doesn't make sense to me, but I just don't see how you can pay someone money and send them a couple videos, and that delayed feedback is not going to make your snatch any better.
No, it
In weightlifting, and I'm very thankful for my coach, right? His name is Coach John. And that's the reason why I don't do, like, there aren't any weightlifting clubs around here in my area. I would have to travel, but I lift with him because exactly what you said. He is the third party observer. When I make a lift, by the way, I don't lift unless my coach is watching me.
I got you.
Okay, I hate lifting
it's
by
wasting time.
myself in garage, right?
Yeah.
Because someone needs to give me immediate feedback,
Yeah.
right? And he is the one managing, like, hey man, you're really stressed out today, or your lifts aren't good. What's going on? Or like, did we lift too heavy? Are you getting frustrated?
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. The coach needs to manage that, and the athlete-coach relationship in weightlifting
Yeah.
is huge.
Yeah, it's important.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's closer related to like hammer, discus, javelin, shot put throws.
Yeah,
right.
it's trust and mentorship.
Yeah,
Mentor.
trust and we'll get to the trust. So it is huge, and I just don't think it can be done online. Right? You can do some of it, but you'll never be the best lifter you can be online.
Well,
right?
if somebody's watching you, they got to be real time watching you for that to work.
So numbers become a problem.
Okay.
Right? In weightlifting, it's a niche sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's special kind of people with a special way of thinking that participate in the sport, right? So they become obsessed with this sport. That's the only way you're actually going to spend money, buy a barbell, buy some plates, because the gyms don't have it. You got to provide it. So you got to be really obsessed with it. And so sometimes you have one coach with 50 athletes in weightlifting, right? It's not like football, where one coach can have, and even in football they have like a defense coach, offense coach, right? They subdivide it. And in weightlifting, sometimes you have one coach and like 20 athletes, all lifted in the same 2 hours, right? It's like you're not going to get the attention you need to be, especially with a technique sport like that.
Yeah.
It's like golf, right? Like the snatch, it's so detailed, right? It's like a golf swing. Are you going to become a golfer participating in a golf event where there's like one professional golfer and like 20 other people, right? So that's why I really, really appreciate my coach, and that's why I'm hesitant to join other weightlifting clubs.
Yeah.
Because I know it takes away that mentorship, that trust,
Yeah.
right, and that feedback that you need to be a good weightlifter.
Yeah, it's like teacher, you got 50 kids in the room. How can you attend to 50 kids? You can't do that. I may be retarded. This person may be dyslexic. I'm just joking. But what I'm saying is, I'm saying, hey, I'm on, I'm over here trying to figure it out. I need some help. But you're not available to me because you got to help Timmy that has ADHD. I'm giving examples. They're kind of extreme. But you are Timmy the places. So like I said, you got one person that's devoted to you, that sees what's going on, that understands your history, your injuries. They understand your injuries. They understand what you've dealt with, how you modified your lifts, and what you had to get through to get what you get to. That way they can walk you through a way that they see, get you to the point of your success.
Right.
Yeah, and that's important.
And that's all I've been doing with my coach. All I've been doing with my coach so far in these last 3 years is addressing injuries, addressing technique, right? How does my body work? How do I understand lifting as a lifter? And what do I need to do to get better?
Yeah.
We haven't really focused on all right, let's go and compete. It's always been about improving me as
building,
a person, right?
building as a person.
And back to the ADD kid, you know, I was given prescribed drugs for ADD as a kid.
That's some crap.
So of course they give me that because they have the teacher has like 50 kids, right? And they want you, and you know, I self-medicated. Luckily with sport, like I told you, I had to go run outside, do my weightlifting, and get tired enough to where I can actually focus on my school, right? So lucky for me, other people deal with it with drugs, right? Other people, they just take the medicine, right? And I know personally a couple guys who've been taking this medicine since they're young, and it is part of like their brain chemistry.
You're supposed to.
It's like they
no
can't.
Comment.
Yeah, they can't get off of it.
Why not? Right. That stuff is only for because they're trying to get my son to take Ritalin. Those drugs for help for his brain. But that stuff is only you grow out of that stuff. Once you start taking, you grow out of it as an adult. Because they're trying to give me. I'm not taking that crap. You take it in the beginning just to kind of get your mind understanding what's going on, where it needs to be at, and you can get off of it, and then use it only when you need to. Yeah. But some parents stop them on it. Okay, it kills creativity.
Yeah, that's true.
Mind doesn't focus. You don't imagine. You ain't dream. It kills all that stuff. It goes away.
So me like I said, I was an immigrant kid, right? My parents had other problems to deal with. I failed 1st through 5th grade, straight up, Eugene, right? The teachers just let me go to the next grade because they thought I was retarded. You know, they were like, because you know, I had like big eyes, and big. You can imagine me. My eyes were the same size when I was a kid.
Oh,
right?
Really?
Yeah, I was like a weird looking kid. You know, so they were like, you know what, this kid might be retarded. Like, let's just let him go to the next grade.
Hey, don't be embarrassed, but I failed too. I'm listening.
Yeah, and like you said, I grew out of it.
Yeah.
Now here's what it boils down to: an ADD kid takes a lot of effort and a lot of mentorship to be kept on the right path. And the truth is, society doesn't want to stop and give a kid with ADD that much effort. The best thing they'll do is give you the pill.
And that's why they put you in jail too.
Right. Okay. So lucky for me, I ended up doing sports and I grew out of it. And I actually have a master's in science. Right. So I've finished college and a master's in science, and I have a decent job. And those things you don't attribute to someone with ADD.
No, you sure don't.
Right?
No, trust me, you don't.
Because if you would have been the teacher that taught me 4th grade, you were like, yeah, this kid, good luck. He's not going to do nothing. He can't even sit still and color. Right?
Yeah.
So everyone, and like you said, you grow out of it. Luckily, I did.
Yeah, you do.
The story ended up fine, and that's honestly the only advice I can give anyone who has ADD or who has kids that have ADD is I grew out of it.
Put them in sports.
Yeah, put them in sports. Yeah, right? It's the healthiest thing you can do. Right?
Yeah.
And I grew out of it, and I'm sure you can use the drugs wisely, but
I don't think you can. I don't suggest it from a therapist standpoint. When I learned about this in school, it kills your receptors.
Yeah, no, yeah.
It's not good at all. It's just you have to have.
I would never give it to my kid.
No, I wouldn't get. No.
If my kid is ADD, I'll tell the teacher that's your problem, homegirl.
Yeah, figure it out.
Go figure it out. Yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, you're not gonna. It's like
medicate my kid just because you want an easy paycheck.
It's like giving kids hormones.
Yeah.
You know, because that's essentially what it is. You know, it's hormones for the brain. You're just giving them hormones. I would never. And I grew out of it, and I'm doing just fine.
Yeah, I had the same problem too. And I had to deal with. I'm not doing no crap there because it does. You know, as an adult, they have adult ADHD. Medicine they take to kind of slow you down and calm you down. Man, I try to take that stuff a little bit because I'm really hyper mentally.
Yeah.
And like I said,
just to see if it'll help.
Yeah, and me personally, I failed 3rd grade, and I failed 4th grade, and cause back then I had personal problems. I went to school to eat lunch and crack jokes. I was a comedian back then. That's why I wonder why I'm not a stand-up guy now. Trust me, I was always in trouble. I was a comedian back in school, but you know, but to your point, but you don't have to take care of that stuff. You know, you can find a better way of solving your issues, helping out, and your lifting is paid off for you really well because you do a really good job in your lifts, and you're really incredibly intelligent, and you have a really good coach. And just so y'all know, I came across when the story I told you at the beginning of how I met him is to a year now. I met him again, and we were talking about the same existing problem that he was struggling with.
For a whole year.
Yeah, and he was struggling with one problem, and he went on to another problem. So let's talk about. So we're gonna go. We talked about his coaching, how judgmental coaching is, and his technique, how he rises, how his problems and his success what you call your challenges and setbacks.
My challenges, setbacks. Yeah.
Okay, so what about victories, and then we'll move on to how we reconnected again.
Yeah. So so far, I've been able. I guess I qualify as a national level lifter.
Okay.
Right? I became the Texas State champion in 2020.
Wow! Congratulations.
Thank you. And I made it to the American Open Finals. Right. That's a national level meet. And I've tried really hard to just go to nationals. So nationals is like there's a weight limit that you have to hit, and when you hit that, you become a national.
Weightlifting at the lift.
Yeah, so you add your numbers. So you add your snatch and your clean and jerk, and if it's over a certain amount, depending on what your weight class is, then you can go to nationals. And in nationals, you compete for like international spots.
Okay.
Right, and that gives you your national ranking. So, so I've done pretty darn good considering all the problems I've had, and those improvements and those numbers I've hit are a great part of my success.
Okay.
And I really attribute that to the collaborations and the trust my coach and I have.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. So with that said, and coach is very important. No matter how perfect you are in your lifts, you need a coach. So with that said, let's go to. So your victories are here. So now where you see yourself going and why you see yourself going, and then we'll talk about what we talk about.
Yeah.
About how I came in the picture.
Yeah. So
What's your goal?
my goal is to be a national level athlete.
Okay.
Right. I want to ideally end up in the top 20 in the nation.
Okay. Is that a certain number you need to lift to get top 20? Like 4 or 5, 600.
So
I'm just throwing numbers out there. I don't know.
Yeah. So you need to be able to snatch 315.
You did that. I said you did that already.
I've come close. But the thing is, you gotta do it in competition.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
It's like deadlift. You pull it with the straps on, but you can't pull.
Yeah, exactly.
I got you. Okay.
So I wanna snatch 315, and I need to clean and jerk 405. So 3 plates in the snatch and 4 plates in the clean and jerk. If I can do that, I'll be in the top 25 or something.
Okay, you're not far from that.
No, the best clean I've ever done was 335. Right, best clean and jerk is like 385.
Okay.
And my snatch, I've attempted 300. So I'm really really close.
Okay. So, what kept you back from that? Was the injuries that we talked about earlier?
Yes.
So what? So I think when I met you, you talked about a shoulder injury you're dealing with.
Yeah. So I've had so the first year I started lifting, my shoulder just gave out on me, and there was nothing we could do to figure it out.
Okay.
X-ray, dry needling, massage, all kinds of stretching, and it led nowhere.
Okay.
The reason was we couldn't find the root cause, right?
Okay.
And the root cause was that I had the hip imbalance, which came from the knee, and the ankle imbalance.
So it's a domino effect. I got you. Structural effect.
And so the shoulder was compensating because my lats started getting tight. My core started shifting to one end, right? And I moved over to my right side, right? I was on the right leg, and this left leg was just hanging out because the glute wasn't active. So no matter what we tried to fix the shoulder problem with, until we addressed the root cause somewhat, it didn't really help.
So did y'all ever fix the shoulder?
Yes, we fixed the shoulder with a specific lat stretch that we came up with.
Okay, that's good then. Okay, so now you fix your shoulder and you're still trying to progress.
Correct.
And now you're still having setbacks.
Yeah. So we tried to progress, and the next setback that came in was so you want to be a weightlifter, you gotta have a strong squat, right? Because you gotta have a strong squat. My pull was really really good, but my squat just looked so awkward. I was not able to use my hips the right way, and that led us to the ankle problem that I had. My ankle was stiff.
Okay.
Even though we took the surgery, it didn't really solve itself. So until we finally realized it was the foot that was restricting the ankle motion, I wasn't able to fix my squat. And this is something I've recently fixed.
Okay, fixed. Okay, so now let's get to the point. So we're getting now to where. So I mentioned you talked about a shoulder situation. When that year before I met you, you told me your coach told me you worked in a shoulder situation. Now since then, now I met you. And then what were we dealing with?
Yeah. So now that hip pain that we dealt with, that's a hip pain I've had since 2017. Believe it or not.
Okay.
Right? And it's a hip pain on the back, right? It's almost like it's your tailbone sometimes, it's your SI joint. Yeah, it's your coccyx area, and then it's your piriformis. So it's like on the side of your hip where you're sitting down. And if you watch my lifts, the pain that I'm in shows, because I'm not able to use my left side because my body is trying to protect itself because there's so much pain. So, and this pain sent me through a depressed period, right? Like I said, it killed my sleep. It messed with the relationship I had with my wife. My self-confidence went down, right? And lifting became agonizing. And you know, my coach gratefully helped me work through all that. And you know, some coaches, like, if you're injured, they're like, okay, well, take a week off, right? And then come back. But he actively wanted to help me. And we worked on it, and we got closer and closer and closer. And we just couldn't figure it out. So, and we'd spoken a year earlier, right? And I knew you had a perspective of seeing the body through a system. So I was like, hey, coach, hey, John, let me ask Eugene. Let's see what he thinks, right?
So that's what we get to this point right here. So now walk me through, because I think I kind of did I say something to you, or you said something to me? Because I think I was over there and I said something. Did I say something to you?
You came up to me. I was coaching a young athlete. I was helping him.
Oh, that kid! I do remember. Okay, that kid. I got you. Okay.
So there was a young kid who wants to get into weightlifting, and
he was there with his dad.
Yeah, he was there with his dad, and that's kind of what you do as a decent weightlifter.
Experience.
You help younger guys out, right? And people who want to try weightlifting. So, you know, I was helping him do cleans because he wanted to be better at power cleans for football. And that's when you came up and you were like, oh yeah, I can see he has some imbalances, which he did, right? And I was like, oh, Eugene, you're the guy that understands the body of the system. Hey, can you come watch me squat for a second, right? And tell, because I've had this pain and I just can't figure it out, and the other health professionals couldn't figure it out. So, and you know, I was desperate at that time. So, two things: I was desperate and I was experienced. I could talk to someone for 5 minutes about my hip pain and tell you, are they going to fix it or not? Are they going to go the route that I need to go? And when I spoke to you, right? So desperate means you're willing to try and give anyone any money, right? And the experience is like, if this guy starts opening his mouth, right, and he starts talking about my injury to where it's oversimplified, he has no idea what he's talking about.
Oh yeah, no,
right?
It's more than
So I was like, hey Eugene, I have this hip problem. Tell me what you think, right? And you started talking about the foot, the knee, the ankle, and you were like, you
the
need
whole
to have
structural
balance.
system is balanced.
The whole system, you know, you need to have glute activation, right? And the hip working right is part of being a human. If your hips don't work right, you're not a human. You're a snake or something, or a dolphin.
You're wheelchair bound.
Exactly. Yeah, you're totally injured.
Hover around bound.
It's just a matter of time before you end up in a wheelchair. So, and that's how we met, and we started working on this hip pain. And you had me do a couple exercises, right? The funny thing is, he never asked me to stretch, right? Every person, when I tell him this, like, oh, do this stretch. Like, he never asked me to stretch. Now, the reason why I was very, very hopeful and I was willing to give you a chance, right? Because this is my weightlifting. I've been dealing with this for 7 years.
Right?
As well, too. And then I've been dealing with this for 7 years, and you're gonna show up and in 5 minutes gonna fix my problem. Good luck. You know, right? Good luck. So that was my mentality. But Eugene spent an entire hour watching me move. Okay? There hasn't been a single doctor or PT because they think they know it all.
PTs, they do think they know it all.
Right.
They're like Jesus with white.
Right. They got like a list. Oh, pain here. There you go. It says you got this, and we'll do this stretch. So you watched me for an entire hour. You watched me squat, and then you slowly started introducing different movements, different patterns. Hey, try this, try that. And you know, my coach was there too. Now, coaches, their athlete is their pride. Right? In weightlifting, you are only as good of a coach as your athlete performs, right? So, and the coach protects his athlete. And people like poach each other's athletes and try to take them away. And if you look at it from my coach's perspective, he's like, I've been dealing with this kid's hip, knee pain. Everything he is in weightlifting is because of me. And now you're gonna come in and tell us what to do. Right?
It's pride there.
And rightfully they should have pride because you've had so much success. And that's the same thing. Like, I've been here this whole time. You're gonna show up in 5 minutes and tell us what to do. So you did a really good job.
But your coach was it's humility. Humble. Is that's the right word for it?
So he, at the least, humble is a good word, but at the least he was open.
That's how it was good.
at the least he was open to new ideas, right?
I get the I mean, when I talked to Forsaken Warrior Steve, I didn't. He's like, dude, who's this guy? Right? What has he done? He's not a bodybuilder. He's not somebody famous. Guess what? I don't have to be nobody famous. I'm just like the person under the sun that knows a little something about something. And if he's interested, that's entertaining. If you're not interested, have a good day.
And sometimes the average person has a lot of insight about something you could have never imagined.
Yeah.
Like you see someone who's a great bodybuilder, he went through a journey, right?
But he had help. He had help.
Yeah, he had help. But now that guy, let's say, is worth putting on a podcast. And then you see like a random guy on the street, and you think to yourself, what could he possibly know that's special? Because it doesn't show, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't show. But they could be very insightful.
Yeah.
That guy could be like a billionaire and he knows how to make money right away.
Yeah.
So it's a great candidate for a podcast, right?
And it's like me. I have 30 years of doing it. I started this back when I was 18. I've been in this wellness fitness for a very long time. I got 30 years experience of doing this. So I understand the body 100%. Before I was going to school, I knew this is like the back of my hand. This is what God put me on the planet to do.
Good.
It's to help people. So I know this like the back of my hand. So because I'm not big time bodybuilder, I'm not huge, I'm not big, I'm not a lifting heavy weight, doesn't mean I know anything. So I bring value to people's lives that's interested in doing what they need to do, or if you have a disease, cancer, whatever. I had cancer clients. I offer service for Parkinson's, osteoporosis. I've dealt with a lot of different people with different problems. So because I don't look that way, doesn't mean I don't know anything. So you don't judge a book by its cover until you at least have a conversation. And so with him, like I said, I met him before. I worked with a guy named Forsaken Warrior Steve. Helped him out with his deadlift. He was trying to do a 1,000-pound deadlift, but he got sidetracked. So now and then a year later, he was talking to a young kid. His dad was trying to help him with a lift because he was trying to prepare for football. So I had him walk over and kind of interrupt my conversation and said, "Hey, the kid has some balance there. If you tell him anything, he may need to work on this, and that." And I'm like, "Oh, he remembered me." I said, "Hey, I'm the guy. Remember me?" We started talking, and he recalled me talking to him about his injuries that you were dealing with, and he asked me to generally watch him and see what was going on. So I was able to observe him with the moves that he was doing, and I was able to identify what muscles were not firing based on the lift. And he went to go ahead to explain to me what issues he was dealing with, and what that issues he was dealing with. Okay, boom, boom, boom. This is why this is happening, and I was able to point out everything that was wrong from the top to the bottom, to the mid, to the bottom. So you don't miss anything, because you need to take care of yourself structurally, balance yourself to take care of the areas that you have imbalances from, like aches and pains, injuries. You need to take care of everything as a whole. So with that said, I was able to watch him move, articulate to him with him what problems he was having, and then give him exercises to do. Necessarily, you don't have to stretch everything. Stretching not all the time is not really necessary. You're elongating the muscle. If the muscle has a problem with contracting, you need to take a step back and work on one portion before you move forward with another process of the movements. It can have something to do with nutrition and balances of mental health. So it has a lot of things to do with when you have an injury and how you get yourself back to where you got from. So back to him again, I was able to talk to him and understand what was going on. He told me what his frustration was, how he was dealing with it mentally, how his body was interpreting the movements. And through us working together, maybe once or twice, whatever, and I was able to help him identify what problems he was having for him to be successful in his lifts. So now, since then, he's been successful at his lifts, and he's like decided he's not pain no more.
Yeah.
7 years of pain.
Yeah, 7 years of pain gone in one day.
Yeah.
Like, and the reason why I was gone in one day is because Eugene doesn't just have 30 years of experience, he has insight.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's like beyond.
Yeah.
And the way you conducted yourself, and you understand the situation. Right?
Yeah.
Remember, you said coach-athlete relationship is trust.
Yeah, it is,
right?
trust.
So, in weightlifting, in the shot put, your safety isn't really that much at risk, right? Because you throw the ball this way, that way, the coach
leaves you.
Right,
it leaves you.
In the snatch, the bar is right over your neck.
Yeah.
So that drops on you.
Yeah.
You can end up with a pretty big injury.
Yeah.
So now there's a lot of fear in that, and there's a lot of trust that has to go between you and the coach.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to trust your coach almost with your health.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so when he says you're ready, you gotta. If you don't trust your coach and you don't trust yourself, your weightlifting is gonna go nowhere.
Yeah.
Right.
It is.
And that's why I'm not a big fan of lifting online or lifting with someone that has like 25, 30
Yeah.
athletes, because you can't build that trust.
No, you can't build
now
trust.
with the pain in PT, right? You came to a wounded dog, right? And you know how to help him,
Yeah.
right? And the wounded dog's first reaction is to like bite back and defend
Yeah.
himself.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Right?
You were talking about. I've been doing this for a long
Yeah.
time.
So-
I've talked to all the experts, and they told me this and that.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I've talked with all the experts, so what could you possibly provide me that could help, right? And luckily for me, the way you spoke, the way you phrased things led into me trusting you, right?
Yeah.
Because if I have pain, I'm not gonna risk getting injured again if I don't trust you.
Yeah, and you know more about your anatomy than I do. When
That's-
you have injury,
yeah.
you know every bone, every muscle.
Yeah.
You know everything about your body, and whoever talking to you has to speak to that, not speak to what you know already, and give you more insight on how to help you solve your issue.
Yeah. And you need to trust
Yeah.
the guy that's helping.
That's the process, yeah.
And the way you built the trust with me is that you actually spent the time
Listen
and watched
and
me
watch.
and listened to me for
Yeah.
an entire hour.
Yeah.
Right? Man, if when I go, I get like 15 minutes with these guys, right? And half the time I'm in the X-ray machine, you know. So it's I guess it's a different system, right?
Yeah.
There are some things that they can be really good at helping you with, but the problems I've had, they just drop the ball. So
Yeah.
and I appreciate. And you know, when someone like Eugene or your PT gives you an exercise to do, right? Especially if it's an injury that's been there for 7 years, it's gonna take at least 1 year to fix.
Yeah,
right?
it's gonna take time to fix,
Injuries
yeah.
that took, from my experience, because you know when I get that pain and it takes me out, I'm out for like 4, 5, 6 months.
That's a long
Sometimes
time.
I'm out for 9 months.
Yeah.
So that 9 months that I had to build up and tolerate the pain until I couldn't anymore, it takes that same amount to recover. Right?
Yeah, it does.
So, and there's a lot of, like I do that, I'm 29 years old. I do that 3 more times. My weightlifting career is over.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I'm like 35.
Yeah, oh,
in
yeah.
5 more injuries, right? And I
Yeah.
just spent the time being injured.
Yeah.
So, I had to trust you a lot.
Yeah.
And you built that trust. And and you know, within that same day, I was squatting without pain for the first time in years.
Okay.
Right.
Well, that's good.
And not only did you fix the problem, you did the whole cliche of give a man a fish and he'll be okay for a day, teach him how to fish. So you didn't just alleviate my pain, you educated me and taught me right how to handle with that specific issue I have. And like we said, team sport was an individual sport.
Yeah.
I'm the individual, it's in my hands, right?
It
And
really
I can
work.
run with it and take it as far as I can go.
And that's another thing to touch base on that. You touched a good point. When there's a process in place when it comes to injury, you need to follow the process. So stretching is not necessary. They got these stretch places that popping up everywhere. That's not practical. It's more than just stretching. It's muscle contraction. There's eating. There's a lot of things along with that. So what he just said, I gave him the tools to be successful, and that was my job. And that's how I was able to give him, doing him a service to make sure his time, his money, whatever he invested was not wasted. So I took pride in what I'm doing. I'm a student of my craft. I'm constantly always educating myself. I'm not a fly-by-night person. I take care of my business. Because if you depend on me, you trust me. It's an honor that you trust me and allow me an opportunity to assist you in what you love doing, in a sense. So I'm pretty excited about it. It was a great experience working with him, and I watched him since he's starting to perform a lot better. Movements are getting better. He's getting stronger. So the sky's the limit. So I can see him and his goals sooner than later, in a sense. So I'm really excited about this opportunity to talk to Ali. It was a pleasure to tell his story, educate us on the Olympic lift. I didn't know this either. I learned something new. So I'm pretty sure you all have. If you didn't, whatever. Let's say whatever. No big deal. But I'm excited to have him as a guest. Shout out to the coach. Shout out to his coach for helping him get to the point you get to. And I'm just real thankful for the opportunity to be here with you, man.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to everyone. And I hope you guys learned from something. And if you want, follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is the Ali, so the.oly.ali. And that Instagram is just for my lifting. So if you want to see how I progress after I met Eugene, you'll be able to do that on that Instagram.
Is it the .Ali?
Yeah.
It's the .Ali,
Yeah,
right?
so, the Ali Oly.ali.
Okay. Anything else you got going on?
No, that's it. That's it for me. I try to keep my weightlifting a hobby. I know some people like to have promo codes, but I am really focused on being a professional in my career, and I don't want to be a professional lifter, right? So I don't mix money and
Yeah, I got
my
your
hobby
hobby
at the
together.
same time.
I got you. Okay, I can understand that too. So guys, hey, we're out. This is Eugene Torrance here with. Check us out on Performance and Wellness YouTube. We also have a podcast channel as well, and we got some of our old shows in there. We done old episodes just strictly on audio, but this YouTube thing is new, and I'm really excited about it. So we're gonna continue bringing you guys guests that's in the know, that are experts at what they do and what they love doing. So stay tuned, guys, for more videos. Out.
Peace out.